I built their empire for 12 years. Then they fired me via text. So I took back what was really mine. The text message arrived at 4:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was sitting in my corner office on the 23rd floor of downtown Miami, reviewing quarterly projections that I had personally crafted to save the company another $400,000. My phone buzzed against the mahogany desk, the same desk I'd earned through 12 years of 14-hour days, missed birthdays, and sacrificed weekends. Your services are no longer needed. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Management. 47 characters. 12 years of my life reduced to a corporate text message that felt colder than the air conditioning blasting through the vents. I stared at the screen, reading it again, then again, waiting for the punchline that never came. Before I could even process what was happening, 2 security guards appeared at my door. Behind them stood Marcus Webb, the smug 28-year-old nephew of the company's founder, wearing a designer suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. "Victoria," he said, not even having the decency to look me in the eye. "I'm sure you understand this is just business. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. I had built this company from a struggling startup hemorrhaging money into a $50 million empire. I was the one who landed the first major client when they were 3 months from bankruptcy. I was the one who stayed until midnight restructuring their debt when the 2020 crisis hit. I was the one who brought in every single major account that now kept their lights on. My office," I said quietly, standing up slowly. "I need to collect my personal items." Marcus checked his Rolex, another symbol of success built on my work. 5 minutes. Make it quick. As I gathered my few personal belongings, a photo of my late mother, a small plant I'd nurtured for 3 years, and my favorite coffee mug, my mind was racing. The security guards watched me like I was a criminal. Employees I had mentored, trained, and protected for years avoided eye contact as I walked past their desks toward the elevator. But here's what Marcus and his entitled family didn't know. I wasn't just an employee. I was the architect of their entire operation. Every major client relationship, every crucial vendor contact, every strategic partnership, they all came through me. And more importantly, I still had access to everything. I drove home to my modest apartment in Coral Gables in complete silence, my hands gripping the steering wheel as reality set in. 12 years. Gone in a text message. No severance discussion, no transition period, no explanation beyond nothing personal. That night, I sat on my couch with my laptop, staring at the login screen for the company's client management system. My credentials still worked. They hadn't bothered to revoke my access in their rush to humiliate me. Typical. I spent the next 3 hours doing something I should have done years ago. I exported every single client contact, every contract detail, every relationship I had personally cultivated. Not the company's relationships, mine. Because the truth was, these clients weren't loyal to Webb Industries. They were loyal to me. Take the Morrison Group, our biggest account, worth $800,000 annually. I had landed them 4 years ago when their previous vendor had failed them spectacularly. I was the one who flew to their Houston headquarters, sat in their boardroom for 6 hours, and convinced them that Webb Industries could solve their logistics nightmare. But it wasn't Webb Industries they trusted, it was Victoria Martinez. Or the Blackstone development deal, our most prestigious client at $1.2 million per year. I had met Jennifer Blackstone at a charity gala in 2019. We spent 2 hours talking about sustainable business practices over wine and hors d'oeuvres. 6 months later, she called me directly to handle their massive downtown revitalization project. Not the company. Me. Every major account had the same story. Personal relationships built on trust, reliability, and results. Relationships that Marcus and his family had taken for granted while collecting the profits. By midnight, I had a complete backup of every client file, every vendor agreement, and every strategic document I had created. I wasn't stealing. This was intellectual property I had developed, relationships I had nurtured, strategies I had crafted. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and opened my laptop. First, I updated my LinkedIn profile. Independent business consultant, specializing in strategic partnerships and corporate restructuring. Then I sent my first email. Dear Jennifer, I wrote to Jennifer Blackstone. I hope this message finds you well. As of yesterday, I am no longer affiliated with Webb Industries. However, I wanted to personally reach out to let you know that I will be launching my own consulting firm and would be honored to continue our partnership in this new capacity. I crafted similar messages to the Morrison Group, Henderson Manufacturing, Coastal Logistics, and 15 other major clients. Each email was personal, professional, and highlighted our specific history together. I wasn't bad-mouthing Web Industries. I didn't need to. The relationships spoke for themselves. By 11 a.m., my phone started ringing. Victoria. Jennifer Blackstone's voice was warm but concerned. I just got your email. What happened? Marcus called this morning saying there would be a transition, but he was incredibly vague. I chose my words carefully. The company decided to go in a different direction. However, I'm excited about this new opportunity to provide more personalized service to the clients I care about most. Well, Jennifer said without hesitation, if you're starting your own firm, we want in. Can we schedule a meeting? The Blackstone account will follow you wherever you go. One down. The Morrison Group called 20 minutes later. Same conversation, same result. Then Henderson Manufacturing. Then Coastal Logistics. By the end of the day, I had secured meetings with 12 major clients representing $2.3 million in annual contracts. Not potential clients, locked-in commitments from companies that had been working with me personally for years. That evening, as I was celebrating with a glass of wine on my balcony, my phone rang. Marcus Webb's name appeared on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Victoria, this is Marcus. We need to talk. Several clients are asking about you specifically, and we need to discuss a transition plan. Call me back immediately. I deleted the message and poured another glass of wine. The next morning brought a flood of panicked voicemails and text messages. Marcus had called 6 times. The company's head of sales had called 4 times. Even the founder's assistant had reached out, urgently requesting a callback. I was in my home office, reviewing contracts for my new consulting firm, when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Marcus Webb standing on my doorstep, his usually perfect hair disheveled, his designer shirt wrinkled. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Victoria, he said, his voice strained. We need to talk. I'm listening, I replied calmly. The clients, they're asking for you specifically. The Morrison Group is threatening to cancel their contract. Blackstone wants to renegotiate. Henderson is saying they only want to work with you directly. His voice cracked slightly. What did you tell them? I smiled. Not a cruel smile, but the smile of someone who finally understands their own worth. I told them the truth, Marcus. That as of Tuesday, I'm no longer with Web Industries. But you can't take our clients. Your clients. I raised an eyebrow. Marcus, I want you to think very carefully about something. In the past 12 years, how many client meetings have you personally attended? How many site visits? How many crisis management calls at 2 a.m.? His face flushed red. That's not the point. You signed a non-compete. Actually, I didn't. I pulled out my original employment contract and handed him a copy. Your uncle never required one because, and I quote from our 2011 conversation, we're family here, Victoria. We trust each other. The color drained from his face as he scanned the document. Here's what's going to happen, I continued, my voice steady and professional. I'm launching Martinez Consulting. 12 of your major clients have already expressed interest in transferring their accounts. That represents about 60% of your annual revenue. You can't do this to us, he whispered. Do this to you? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Marcus, I built this company. I brought in every major client you have. I worked weekends, holidays, and missed my mother's last Christmas because of a client emergency. And your response was to fire me via text message and have security escort me out like a criminal. We can work something out, he said desperately. Partnership, equity, anything you want. What I want, I said, stepping closer to the door, is for you to understand that loyalty is a two-way street. For 12 years, I was loyal to Web Industries. Yesterday, Web Industries showed me exactly how much that loyalty was worth. I started to close the door, then paused. Oh, and Marcus, when you call the clients back, and I know you will, you might want to mention that my new firm offers the same services at 20% below your current rates. Competition is healthy for the market. I closed the door and watched through the peephole as he stood there for a full minute, staring at the door like he couldn't believe what had just happened. Over the next 2 weeks, my phone didn't stop ringing. Not from Marcus, from clients. By the end of the month, I had secured contracts worth $2.8 million annually. But the real victory came 6 weeks later, when I was featured in Business Weekly magazine's Entrepreneurs to Watch section. The article detailed how I had built a successful consulting firm from scratch, leveraging years of relationship building and industry expertise. It mentioned that I had previously worked for a mid-sized Miami firm, but had decided to pursue independent consulting to better serve my clients' needs. The interviewer asked about my rapid success. When you spend 12 years building genuine relationships based on trust and results, I said, people remember that. They don't follow companies, they follow people they believe in. 3 months after that text message, Marcus called one final time. I actually answered. Victoria, his voice was barely above a whisper. We're filing for bankruptcy. The investors pulled out after losing the major accounts. I wanted you to know that I know it was my fault. I felt no satisfaction in his admission, only a profound sadness for what could have been. Marcus, I said gently, this didn't have to happen. If you had treated people like human beings instead of disposable assets, if you had valued loyalty instead of taking it for granted, we could have built something amazing together. Is there any chance? No, I interrupted. But I wish you the best. I genuinely do. A year later, Martinez Consulting had grown to 15 employees and $5.2 million in annual revenue. We occupied the entire 18th floor of a building just 6 blocks from my old office. I had hired 3 former Web Industries employees who had been laid off after the bankruptcy, not out of spite, but because they were talented people who deserved better. I kept that text message screenshot in a frame on my desk, not as a trophy, but as a reminder that your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. It's determined by how you respond when they show you who they really are. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success built on the foundation they thought they could tear down. It's proving that you were never just an employee. You were the architect of everything they took for granted. And sometimes the most powerful response to your services are no longer needed is to show them exactly what services they just lost. If you've ever been undervalued, overlooked, or discarded by people who should have appreciated you, this story is for you. Remember that your worth isn't determined by how others see you. It's determined by what you build when you finally see yourself clearly. Drop a comment below if you've ever had a moment when being dismissed became the best thing that ever happened to you. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about turning setbacks into comebacks, because sometimes the most devastating losses become the foundation for your greatest victories. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.